started recording, and I won't share my screen quite yet. I'll get through the reading of the introduction, which we've changed up just slightly. So, okay. Welcome to the October 2024 Design Review Committee meeting. Before I call the roll, I wanted to start with introductions of the Historic Preservation Program staff for those joining us tonight who have not met us before. So I'm Michael Tawney. I'm the Associate Planner. I am the liaison with the HALRB, and I'm our lead researcher. And then John, do you want to introduce what you do for the program?
Of course. So I'm John McNair. I'm the Historic Preservation Specialist for our team. So part of my job as it relates to these meetings is that I will be the inspector for any COAs or ACOAs that are approved once those projects are underway, and once they're eventually complete, I will be on site for a final inspection.
All right, so now I'm going to call the roll to confirm that our DRC members are present. Omari Davis.
Here.
Right, Robert Dudk has not joined us virtually. Okay, Alex Foster. Here. And Andrew Wenchel.
Here.
Great. DRC meetings are held in person and streamed simultaneously to allow commissioners, applicants, and the public to attend online. For members of the board joining us virtually this evening, please ensure that your video is turned on and you are visible during the entire meeting, but keep your device muted until you would like to speak. For applicants and others joining us this evening virtually, if you lose internet connectivity during the meeting, please reconnect with us via the dial-in phone option. Please keep your devices muted and your video turned off until your item is under review. When called upon to speak, you must unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is located on the meeting command bar at the top of the window. We do not have the ability to unmute you. If you are dialing in by phone, press *6 to unmute. The meeting chat is active for participants who need technical assistance and should not be used for questions. The public may observe the meetings, but participation in the discussion is limited to applicants and members of the HALRB during this meeting. Public comment is welcome at the HALRB meeting. Information about signing up as a speaker or submitting a public comment for that meeting is available on the HALRB website. And lastly, this is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Freedom of Information Act requirements. Okay. So with that, we will go to our first item, and I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Okay. All right, and has John joined us virtually? No, okay. So our applicant might not be here quite yet, but I'll go ahead and give an overview of this project. So this is at 2215 North Lincoln Street in Maywood, and it is for the installation of solar panels, about 20 of them to be exact, on the rear elevation of the house. So I'm going to scroll through. I did ask the applicant today because I noticed that there was a discrepancy in the design pattern for the solar panels. This is not the design pattern, so I'll take it out for the HALRB and I'll go to the actual one, but this was a rendering they made for the applicant, the homeowner, so they could see what they would look like, you know, from an aerial view. But they will be located on the back side of the house and then on the addition here. So I'll scroll through some of the photos. The inverter is going to go near this other equipment on the side elevation. Here are some more photos showing the property. Some interior shots, which we don't really need, but here's some more. This is the back addition. That's a full elevation of the house from the back. So these are examples of what it would actually look like. So they are going to be black. They'll have the conduit system snaking through. They are going to be 7 inches. So I confirmed with the applicant that they'd be about 7 inches in height off of the roof. And then these are just other examples of things. So let me get to what they would actually look like from, there we go. So this is the layout of what they'll have.
But this is on the backside.
It is on the backside.
Can you show us a picture of the front?
Yeah, I was prepared for that question, because there wasn't, I'm gonna stop sharing real quick and go to Google Street View. Okay.
Okay, the next question, I guess, is, was this a contributing structure?
It is non-contributing.
That's what.
Okay.
I don't know your problem.
No problems. I'm gonna just, because I pulled it up, I'm gonna make you guys go through the actual guide. So if you look really closely, you probably are not going to be able to see them. And you really can't see even the rear addition. Now, granted, this is when there's like vegetation and stuff, but
Sure.
that's, you can see the there. So the reason it's coming forward and it couldn't be approved via the ACOA process is because it's on the actual house. If it was just on the addition only, I could have approved it, but because it's also on the house, it has to be wrong.
It's from the front. Moreover, it's a non-contributing structure.
I would agree. And I think the placement of the inverter is also acceptable too on the side next to liquid other, but sense too. Yeah. Take the touch.
Okay.
Previous one that we had sort of discussed was a little bit more complex for. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we do have another non-contributing house that has solar panels, and they are in a much more visible location because the house they're on the backside, but they're on a corner lot. And so you all looked at that one last year, I think, and approved it as well.
Yeah.
So you might recall that as another example of solar panels, but it seems that you all are comfortable with it and you're comfortable with the height. Normally we have, the design guidelines say it's about 6 inches or less is what's considered low profile. Are you all comfortable with the 7-inch height of the solar panels? Just a difference of an inch.
So the photo that you showed was only about 5.5. So you're
That's
saying
why I asked. They said they confirmed that it would be about 7, and John still not joined.
I
So
think it's reasonable because it's in the back and it's.
okay,
I don't think that I would prove it as a precedent for generally, but because it's in the back.
okay,
It was more visible, I think, than sort of the point that they addressed. I mean, I wonder why it's 7 instead of 6, but again,
However, I think the placement of the panels, it's not anywhere close to the edge of the roof line, so it wouldn't show.
yeah.
Okay.
You really have to be creeping to,
I'll go back to
how do you feel about it?
Well, I don't have any problem with this. We have approved solar panels in front of a non-contributing structure.
Yeah.
So, no, so we've approved numerous solar panel applications. Contributing structures. Which this is because of the way the gable works. That's just not going to be seen from the street.
Is it worth suggesting we get a precedent that it doesn't need to come before the board if it's on? I don't know.
we have to change the design guidelines, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. But yeah, I think we would have to do an update to the design guidelines, because that's kind of my guiding document. But I can certainly ask the applicant if 6 inches would be possible, but since it sounds like you all are comfortable with 7, I'll just ask to see.
Yeah.
But
I'd definitely be curious why it's 7 inches.
Yeah.
But also, 7 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm more curious.
Yeah.
Well, it was,
It's architecture nerd.
yeah.
You gotta know.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, I will inquire about that. But since it sounds like you all are pretty comfortable with sending it to the board, is it going on the consent agenda? Okay, all right. And Robert still hasn't joined us, right? Okay. All right. Well, I will let the applicant know that it's on consent, and we can move on to the next agenda then. Right. Okay, and we have Larry here with us. So this is our applicant. You all probably remember Larry. He came to a couple meetings earlier this year for a different project. But today is also pretty straightforward. So he is applying for the removal of 2 trees at Walker Chapel. And Larry, feel free to describe, the situation and some of the things that have been going on, and I'll scroll through the application so they can see what you've submitted.
We hate to lose these 2 trees, obviously, but our primary responsibility is the preservation of the grave sites and the historic gravestones. And both of these trees are right in the midst of many stones. One of the companies that came out and looked at it said it's going to be like taking down a tree in a minefield. And we're going to have to figure out how to protect the most fragile stones, either by moving them or covering them or something. But in any case, our responsibility is the stones and the grave sites. And we can always replace trees. We planted 19 trees in the past year, so we plant 2 more and just hang around for 200 years for them to grow.
How big are these trees? How big are they?
One is 42 inches and the other is 24 inches. And the 42-inch one actually was 2 trees planted at the same time, and one had a big root ball and grew up straight, and the other one grew around it. But they never became one. There was always a gap between the 2. And when the first one fell over, the second one, which is standing now, has this huge cavity in its root area. And when you look in there, you can see it's all rotted. You can just go in your hand and pull out pieces of it. And when the first one was in danger of falling, I said, oh my goodness, it's going to fall. It's going to fall. We got to get somebody in here to take it down. But before the guy could come in and take it down, it fell. So that really scared us. And now we're afraid that these 2, they could last a year, they could last 2 years, they could last 3 years, but they could come down tomorrow. So the second tree does not have multiple limbs on it, just has 1 trunk. But unfortunately, it has become compromised at its base. Carpenter bees have dug into the core of the tree, and you can see the holes that they left. And the backside of the tree is split all the way from where it divides into trunks all the way to the ground. And it has the most fragile stones around it, the ones in circles there. So we thought it just prudent to take them both down.
And the reason it's, I know you all don't see too many tree removals, but Walker Chapel does not have its own design guidelines, so there aren't any mechanisms available for me to approve things administratively for them. So that's why they're coming forward, is that the trees need to have a COA instead of an ACOA. But our forester did look at them. She noted that they're both failing, that she was okay with their removal, and as long as there was a commitment to replace them, which Larry has agreed to replace the trees. So.
Yeah, I would love to use some of it myself, but I don't have a saw big enough to. But we did talk about, well, maybe the tree guys could cut off slices of it. Because if it's 1 or 2 inches wide, then I can do it on my table saw to take it the rest of the way. And maybe make little mementos that people could get of the tree.
St. Charles did something similar. They ended up making a fuss because several people had put ashes next to a tree that had to be demolished. So There's some really beautiful things.
Yeah.
You could probably get your tree removal guy.
We try not to commercialize it.
So is everyone comfortable with this one going on the consent agenda? Okay, all right, Larry, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I will follow up with details about the HALRB meeting, but item went on consent.
By the way, we have finished the first phase of the historic preservation project. Our 1,000-year wall is in place. We had our first design meeting probably 6 years ago, and I asked the builders that I need a 1,000-year wall. And they said, we can only guarantee it for 40 years. But we have a 1,000-year wall. It's a gravity wall. There's no iron in it or anything. It's like 6 to 8 feet deep at its base, and it's just solid rock and mortar holding the stones together. Goes 3 feet down into the ground, and it's beautiful. And we have, in fact, sold our first 2 niches in the columbarium, and have a 68-page marketing plan for how we're going to announce this to the community, because for the first time, Walker Chapel Cemetery is going to be open to the community. So we have great hopes. So you're all invited to come out and see it. You can even buy a niche if you want. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right. So we are a little bit ahead of schedule, and Lauren Riley hasn't joined us virtually, right? There she is. Oh, there you are. Okay. Hi, Lauren.
Hey everyone, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Give me 1 second. Stop. Do you all want to share your screen with the presentation?
Yeah, it looks like it's blocked for me right now. I don't know if you can make me a presenter.
Let's see. You click that. Give us 1 second, Lauren. Sorry.
No, all good. So sorry I'm not there in person. This usually isn't much of an issue.
That's okay. There we go. You should be able to do it now.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Awesome.
All right, give me a second. Let's see, can you all see that presentation?
Yep.
Can.
Okay, good. Well, good evening, everyone. Probably don't need an introduction, but I'm Lauren Riley with Walsh Colucci. We represent Gyre Lynch Real Estate Partners, who are the owners of the Barcroft Apartments area, and we've taken these use permit renovations through over the past year and a half so far. This is the first time we're coming back with a slight amendment to one that has already been approved. This is the phase 3. And I'll just quickly kind of go over where we are at Barcroft. We're in section 1. If you all remember, it's buildings 12 through 16 here. These red buildings, it's 4 here on the west side of South Thomas Street, and then building 16 here on the east side of South Thomas Street. Then here's an aerial image of that as well, just to orient you. This was the phase 3 use permit renovations that were approved earlier this summer. And so one thing that during our review, when we went to the advisory working group, when we went to planning commission, questions that those bodies asked us were there opportunities for you to expand the bedroom count, create larger units by utilizing existing maintenance space in the basement areas? And so with that suggestion, we've continued to explore that possibility. And we have Alice Hakeman with Gyre Lynch on today, as well as Chelsea Thomas with Mosley Architects. As they've been looking post-approval into the ability to expand those bedrooms, we've determined we can change the unit mix, and that will necessitate a few facade changes as well, which is why we're here before you tonight. So here's a quick summary of what the amendment what the amendments will be, expanding basement level units into unoccupied space to enlarge those existing units. We won't be adding any more new units to the buildings, only taking some 2 bedrooms and making them 3-bedroom units. So for instance, we had in the original approval, we had 72 1-bedrooms, 42 bedroom units, and 2 3-bedroom units. Now we're able to provide, we have 72 1-bedrooms. We've taken the 2 bedrooms down to 28, and we've increased the 3 bedrooms up to 14. So we're providing 12 more 3-bedroom family size units here, which is going to be great for the residents, the folks here at Barcroft. So because of that, we filed a use permit amendment that will go to the county board in November, just to deal with the unit mix change in the conditions. We've also filed an administrative amendment to the application that will deal with the facade changes that Chelsea is gonna walk you through. So here's a quick summary for the facade changes that are required. We'll be enlarging some windows. We'll be changing the materials of some windows to meet building code and egress requirements. So with that, I'm going to hand it over now to Chelsea, walk you through the before and after, and then we're open for questions.
Hi, good evening, everyone. You are looking at a before and after of building 12, just one example of the 5 buildings that we are proposing amendment to the facade. Basically, what happened is when we added additional bedrooms to the basement spaces, we are required to provide emergency escape and rescue openings in one in each bedroom per the building code. So in most cases, that meant just enlarging the smaller basement windows that you can see along the bottom level there. So making those a little bit deeper, and then creating a well to escape out of that window in the event of an emergency. So we were trying to maintain the same width of the window in all of those cases and just deepen the window and add the well. So you can see that as a good example on the right side, where the arrow is, where there's the dashed line would be the well, and the window is still pretty much hidden by the grade. And that same theme repeats over and over again. In other circumstances where the grade was lower, for example, on the backside of building 13, the windows were already an appropriate height. We're just needing to switch those from a hung window to a casement window to allow the appropriate width, height, and total area that is required for an emergency escape and rescue opening. We are exploring windows that will have a false meeting rail to mimic the look of the existing hung windows so that it looks like what we are removing. So this is more of the same thing at this point, just swapping a hung window for a casement.
I think same thing here. And then, yep, that's it. So that's the extent of the facade changes here. And we welcome your thoughts and your comments. And I would also like to note that, wow, this is the first time we've been early and we finished our presentation before we're even scheduled to be started. So good job, everyone, for moving us through.
Thank you for being at the meeting early. I was like, oh no, we got through stuff way too quickly, and now they might not be here yet. But
you never know. I tell everyone, you never know. Show up early.
Yeah.
I think the rationale for changing the windows is really strong. That makes a lot of sense. If there is an opportunity to do a faux, something that kind of does suggest a little similarity to what's being replaced, that'd be tremendous to see. I am curious about the well. I don't know if that's in our jurisdiction or what the appearance of that is. So I guess that and it is part of the exterior facade. I'm kind of curious what that looks like, but besides that, it seems very reasonable.
Is the meeting, or sorry, the window well is on the drawings, right? Would it be possible to zoom in on that just to see what it might look like?
I imagine that it's
Maybe
pretty
it's
low profile.
not
you
as-
cannot
yeah.
see it.
Yeah, I don't think we quite have that detail on this drawing.
It's fine.
Chelsea, is there something we could provide that?
I can pull up the
Yeah.
PDF that, but again, it's not gonna show kind of into the window well, I would imagine. But let me work on pulling that up.
What I can say about it is that there are existing window wells all around the site. And we are going to just detail our new wells to mimic that design. It's usually just a simple brick wall, retaining wall,
That sounds good.
that is pretty low to the grade. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That sounds good. Could you both see the picture of the second facade? The one, not the one with the increased depth of the window, where you're switching them.
Let me share. The first one or this one?
And the next one.
Is it this one?
Yeah, I was just taking a look.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess the material of the windows will match that of like what's going everywhere else, basically.
The material of the window well, or
I guess the material of the additional windows, I mean, it'll just be the same as, I mean, what will it be?
You're talking about the casement windows?
Yeah, the casement windows, yeah.
Yeah, so
will-
we've, well, go ahead, Chelsea.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just going to say that right now, I believe we are planning to use aluminum windows for any replacement windows here.
Mhm.
Alice, did you want to add to that?
No, I was just gonna say, we originally, probably the last time we presented, we originally were gonna do vinyl to match the upper floors, but in intermediate conversations with Department for Historic Resources out of Virginia, out of Richmond, they have asked that we do all new windows in aluminum, even though there are the vinyl windows existing to remain. So to answer the question, they would be aluminum at the direction of DHR.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have, sorry, it took me a minute, but I have the drawings pulled up if anyone wants to see other elevations. I just provided a sampling here in the presentation, but I have sort of a slip sheeted comparison packet. Let me share my screen. Oh, I'm unable to, oh, there it is, thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect timing. So let me think, we were looking for an example with a window well, I believe.
Yeah.
So this is the one that we could see, you know, as I mentioned, it isn't necessarily drawn in, but you can see the outline of the window well here.
That's it. That's the way.
And I will say, I don't know if it was intentional, but I did notice that the Mosley team did a great job of making the majority of the changes on the rear facades. It's not very often that you see one in the front, and particularly by the entrance here. So whether it was intentional or not, I think it probably is appreciated.
Yeah.
I'm happy to flip through the drawings further if anyone has any specific items they'd like to see, or if you'd like me to just kind of peruse through slowly to get the magnitude of the changes. You
Do you
can
have
look for the
any
cloud.
additional information about the case, the ones with the faux V or bar across, not the extended ones on the window wells? Do you have any images of the window?
We do not have that
Yeah.
yet, but we are working on it.
Okay, so we're,
We've
That
been
makes
told
sense.
by the manufacturer that they can provide that.
okay.
Any other questions or comments? And it will It's going to come to the HALRB one time. Normally, we have things come at least once to DRC if they relate to design and things like that. So they'll do their full presentation again in at the October HALRB meeting. But they wanted initial feedback from you all if there were any thoughts about it. So, okay.
Yeah, I think it all makes pretty good sense and so then. Yeah, it's a big presentation.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
All right,
We're
get you
gonna-
guys out early.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Lauren, I will follow up, and you too, Alice, I'll follow up with an email about details for the HALRB meeting in a couple of weeks.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Perfect,
You're
sounds
welcome.
good. See you on
All
a
right.
couple weeks.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, and that is our meeting.